everybody, and welcome back to Virtual Storytime with Castle Shannon Library. So for the past 2 weeks of February, we've been talking about Valentine's Day, but Valentine's Day is now over, and February is also Black History Month. So for our last two story times in February, we are going to do stories about famous Black Americans. So one of everybody's favorites, and I know boys I used to teach especially, they loved Jackie Robinson. So we're going to read I Am Jackie Robinson by Brad Meltzer, and this is part of his Ordinary People Change the World series. So Brad Meltzer has a lot of really cool books about people that were real in real life, and some of them are biographies, and some of them are picture books, and some of them are easy readers, and we have a lot of them here, so hopefully you'll check those out. But today, this is the one that we're going to do. I Am Jackie Robinson, which we already knew because he was on the front cover. We said that already. Sometimes it's hard to be brave. My mother was brave, and she liked brave people. When I was born, the youngest of 5 kids, she even named me after someone brave. His middle name will be Roosevelt, Mom says, after President Teddy Roosevelt. Jack Roosevelt Robinson. He fought to make sure Black people were treated the same as everyone else. So the brother says, why Roosevelt? So I guess I should have read down this way first. That's okay. That's a lot for little Jackie to live up to. You'll see, I'm not worried. So we've got Mom here holding him, and look, he's wearing his hat. And then we've got 3 brothers and a sister, so 5 kids. He was the youngest of 5 kids. But having a brave name doesn't make you a brave person. In fact, as a kid, I didn't like sleeping alone. I used to sleep in my mom's bed. Even when she tried to bribe me, I wouldn't leave. I'll give you a quarter to go sleep in your room. Not a chance, it's better here. One of my scariest moments came when I was 8 years old. I was outside and a girl from across the street called me a terrible name. I was so mad I yelled a name right back at her. Her father came running immediately. He didn't like it that a Black boy was standing up to his white daughter. We were the only Black family on our block. And he said, what did you call her? And he said, she started it. I don't remember who threw the first rock, but the fight was on, me versus her dad. The little mean little girl says, get him, Dad. I had a good arm, but no one wins in a rock fight. Eventually, the girl's mother came out and broke it up. Like I said, the world can be a scary place, but even as a kid, there was one thing that always made me happy. And what do you think always made him happy? Kind of uniform is he wearing? What did we see on the front? Sports. And winning at sports. Okay, that's 2 things. I loved playing everything. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, marbles, even dodgeball. All the kids would get in a circle. White, Black, Hispanic, Asian, we all played together. And the rules were simple. If the ball hit you, you were out. I'd duck, jump, leap, and of course throw, and throw, and throw. And by the time I was done, I'd be the last one standing. Are they mad that I won? Dunno. Fall down maybe, they won't notice. But the truth was, they weren't mad at me for winning. They appreciated the skill it took. Those childhood games were some of the only times I wasn't judged by the color of my skin. And the kids say, hooray, Jackie, how's he do it? And what's with the B on his hat stand for? You'll see. So we'll get to find out what the B on his hat stands for a little bit later. Still, that didn't make all of my problems go away. At the local public pool in Brookside Park, you could only go swimming if you were white. If your skin was black, they locked you out. It says here, whites only. And then this kid says, don't they know how hot it is out here? And our friend Jackie, who's still wearing his baseball cap, says, trust me, they know. When people complained, they gave us one day each week, Wednesday. Every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m., they'd open the pool to anybody, Black, Mexican, or Asian. And this is a different kid, says, "Don't they know how mean that is?" And Jackie says, "Trust me, they know." And these two kids say, "Oh, come on, he even swims in his hat." Maybe the B is for buoyant. And buoyant means something that floats. So how do you win when you feel like you're fighting the entire world? My mother, who worked as a maid, showed me the answer. Back then, we were so poor, we sometimes ate only 2 meals a day. To help us out, every Saturday night, the local bakery would let us take their leftovers, and the milkman, back when milk was delivered to your house, would give us whatever extra he had. So these are all his brothers and sisters, and says, "Look, a feast. Look at all this food. It's not just for us," Mom said. "What do you mean?" We weren't the only ones struggling for money. My mom took the extra food and shared it with all our neighbors. And he says, "That's right. She even shared it with the angry guy who threw rocks at me." And she says, "Would you like some extra bread?" And he says, "Wow, thanks. That's very kind of you." And she says, "I'm Mally, Jackie's mom." And he says, "Nice to meet you, Mally." That's how we got to be friends with everyone in the neighborhood. It was one of my mom's best lessons. When you do something good, it brings out the good in others. Plus, the more our neighbors got to know us, the more they realized just how much Black and white people were alike. I learned a similar lesson from a local mechanic named Carl Anderson. He saw the group of boys I used to hang out with. We called ourselves the Pepper Street Gang. We were a bunch of poor kids. For fun, we would throw dirt clods at cars and swipe golf balls from the local course. When he saw what we were doing, Mr. Anderson took me aside. He didn't lose his temper. Calm as could be, he told me, "Jackie, I know why you're following the crowd. You're afraid they'll think you're different, or chicken, but it doesn't take guts to follow the crowd. Courage comes from willing to be different." What Mr. Anderson said that day, it got to me. With the help of my pastor, I stopped hanging out with the gang. From there, I threw myself even deeper into my favorite activity. And what do we think his favorite activity might be? Sports, and winning at sports, especially baseball. As a teenager, I could run so fast, a local reporter noticed that in nearly every game, I stole second, third, and home at least once. Let's see, where should we start? Probably with this one. That isn't stealing. It's grand larceny, and that means really, really bad stealing. Man, this guy can write. You were just on first base. How'd you get here so fast? Maybe the B on his cap is for blast off. In college, I became the first UCLA student ever to letter in 4 sports in the same season: baseball and football and basketball and track. So UCLA is in California. It's a college in California. They said I was one of the best football players in the country. And 2 seasons in a row, I scored the most points of any player in the basketball league. And I won the NCAA title that year. Only one American jumped farther than me. So he won the college title in track for the long jump. Or maybe it was the high jump. I'm not sure. But the same problems kept coming back. When the college newspaper wrote a nice article about me, one of my own white teammates purposely smashed into my leg, trying to injure me. He was mad that the article said something nice about a black person. So there's Jackie, and he says, "Ugh, my leg." And then this kid says, "Don't they know we're on the same team?" And this kid said, "Trust me, they know." By the time I got out of the Army, it still didn't matter that I was one of the best athletes in the country. If you wanted to play professional sports, you had to be white. This guy says, "Sorry, son, your kind doesn't belong here." And then back then, if you were the world champs, it meant you were the white champs. In all of Major League Baseball, not a single team had even one black player. Oh, and did I mention that you were Well, if you were on a black team, the pay was worse, the food was worse, and sometimes the only place to sleep was on the bus. And he says, gross, is this food or goo? And this guy says, you don't want to know. But that was all about to change. Just like the phone. Thanks to a man named Branch Rickey. Rickey was the president of the Brooklyn Dodgers, one of the most popular baseball teams ever. With so many players fighting in World War II, Rickey had a plan for filling his team. He says, I have an idea. The Dodgers will secretly look at black players. Are you nuts? People will stop rooting for us. I don't care. It's time to do what's right. After searching all across the United States and the world, Branch Rickey found me. I'm Jackie Robinson. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I think you can play in the major leagues. How do you feel about that? Mr. Rickey told me that he knew I was a good ball player, but he wanted to know whether I had the guts. He warned me that many white people would be mad to see a black player. There's no one on our side, no owners, no umpires. Loads of players and spectators will yell at you. Pitchers will throw baseballs at your head. But no matter what they do, if you get angry, it'll look like you can't handle it. Can you handle it? On April 18th, 1946, at 27 years old, I was given my shot. At Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City, New Jersey, I played my first official game for the Montreal Royals, the Brooklyn Dodgers farm team. So that's like the team that you're not quite good enough to be with the professional players, but you could be called up to the professional players if you get good enough. You better believe I was terrified. I didn't want to let people down. Then at 3:04 p.m. in my first at-bat, I was thrown out at first. You're out. Thousands of black spectators had come to see what I could do. Thousands of white people were there too, convinced that a black player couldn't possibly be as good as a white one. It was up to me to prove them wrong. The next time I came up was in the third inning. There were two men on base. The pitcher decided on a fastball. I can still see it coming, chest high, down the middle, but this time... Crack! When the ball finally landed 340 feet away in the left field stands, no one could say that a black man can't play as well as a white man. Some called it a home run, others called it history. So do we know what the B on his cap stands for now? He plays for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So B is for Brooklyn. That afternoon, in 5 at-bats, I hit and got on base 4 times. I stole second twice, and I scored 4 runs. This kid says, "Hooray, Jackie. How's he do it? When he puts that B hat back on, it's going to be for Boone." When the game was done, I couldn't get to the locker room because I was so mobbed by fans. Black, white, young, old, even the folks rooting for the other team. They were cheering for me. Still, that didn't mean it was easy. When I started playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers, lots of players didn't want me there. Pitchers threw fastballs at my head. Runners stepped on me with their cleats. Catchers even spit on my shoes. And here he's saying something we're not even allowed to say. He's got a little angry face. And they weren't just coming after me. They told me that if I kept playing, they'd hurt my son. Was I mad? Yes. Was I scared? Yes. And he's saying, I know you saw that. He's spitting on him. But I never let it stop me. Game after game, I kept playing, knowing I wasn't just playing for myself. Each time, more and more people, black and white, were cheering. In the stands, fans wore "I'm for Jackie" buttons. And slowly, eventually, he says, I told you the B was for Boom. The B is for Brooklyn, genius. We were all playing together, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. Baseball opened up to everyone. It was just like those childhood games of dodgeball. Through the simple game of baseball, the country saw a new possibility, a new option. All they needed was for someone to go first. So you see his stats. He stole home 19 times, was National League MVP in 1949 when he led in hitting and steals. The Dodgers won 6 pennants in his 10 seasons. He was one of the few people inducted into the Hall of Fame in the very first year he was eligible. So all that means he was really, really good. In life, people tried to scare me. They wanted to stop me. They wanted to make me go away. Why? Because I was different. Each time I wanted to fight back, but for real change to come, you need to lead by example. Being a leader takes bravery. But remember this, no one is born brave. No matter how big or small you are, there will always be things that scare you. It's okay to be afraid. Just don't let it stop you. There is real power in each and every one of us. Use that power to do what's right, and use that power for a cause that you believe in. And most of all, use that power to lead and help others. This kid says, remember that park where they wouldn't let him swim? It's now called Robinson Park. Today, no one in baseball can wear the number 42, but once a year, every player on every team wears it. It's the one day when everyone looks the same. You know, instead of Brooklyn, you could have told people the B was for brave, just like my middle name. So 42 was his baseball number, and the B stands for Brooklyn and Brooklyn Dodgers. I am Jackie Robinson. I will always lead the way, and I hope you will too. When others see your example, they'll stand with you. It's the only way the world ever gets changed. Together. And then look, these are real pictures. So a quote from him says, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives." So this is him in real life. We'll look at the pictures and then I'll read you the timeline. And then this is Branch Rickey. So that was the guy that went out and found him and asked him to play with his team. It says Jackie, age 6, second from left. That's him there with his mother and siblings. So we've got 3 brothers, a sister, and mom, and him. And then we have Jackie playing college football. Jackie at a college track and field event. And then the timeline down below here says he was born in Cairo, Georgia, January 31st, 1919. He was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1942. Played for the Negro Baseball League team, the Kansas City Monarchs, in 1945. He married his wife, Rachel Issam, in 1946. His first game with the Major League team, the Brooklyn Dodgers, was April 15th, 1947. He won the very first Major League Baseball Rookie of the Year award, also in 1947. He was named the National League's Most Valuable Player in 1946. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. He died in Stamford, Connecticut on October 24th, 1972, and after he died, the first annual Major League Baseball Jackie Robinson Day was April 15th, 2004. So that was, I can't do the math fast enough for that. 67 years? 57 years? 57 years after he played his very first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. So that is the end of our story today. I know that one was a little long, but sometimes when you're reading about real people, it can tend to get a little long and more involved. So our craft today, we're going to be making little baseball mitts with catcher's mitts with baseballs in them. So we have make and take kits available for that craft. And we hope you will join us next week for another story time. We can't wait to see you back here soon. Have a great day.